In a renewed bid to grow Nigeria's crude oil output significantly in the next 12 months, President Bola Tinubu yesterday launched the 1MMBOPD initiative meant to raise production by 1 million barrels per day by harnessing dormant oil assets and optimizing existing ones. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission announced the targets as the industry regulator marked its third anniversary. Arise correspondent Omo Bazwaye tells us more.
1 million! Congratulations!
An auspicious moment as big wigs in Nigeria's oil and gas industry gather here. The third anniversary of Upstream Regulator, NUPRC, brings together local and foreign investors, contractors and policymakers alike in the same room, all in search of ways to fully unlock Nigeria's oil and gas potential. The NUPRC, while explaining the miles covered in the last 3 years, says it hopes to do more to increase Nigeria's daily crude oil production by additional 1 million barrels per day.
You may recall that by 1st January this year, we issued the Regulatory Action Plan for 2024 and the near term to signal direction for the upstream sector and foster operational excellence. The implementation of the plan has bathed what we are all here for today, called the Project 1 million barrels incremental of oil per day initiative.
Industry watchers welcome the drive and believe the target of additional 1 million barrels per day is achievable.
But we also know that we're dealing with infrastructure that are over 50 years older than most people in this room, and they are almost going to their spent life. And we are rising to this as NNPC Limited, that without replacing those infrastructure, you cannot evacuate the additional 100 million barrels that we're going to produce.
I believe it is achievable. It just takes all stakeholders at the table to work together and commit to this happening, and I'm sure it will happen. But to sustain this initiative, we should go beyond just increasing production. It should catalyze a comprehensive strategy to revitalize our entire upstream sector.
Transformation brings about growth. Innovation brings about future success, while excellence is a benchmark for global competitiveness. On that note, I think NUPRC is on course. And as the National Assembly, we are aligned fully with you and will support you.
Many here are urging Nigeria to deal decisively with the problem of oil theft and pipeline vandalism that have led to huge losses in revenue. Nigeria's Minister of State for Petroleum Oil, Lokubri, is not particularly upbeat about the target, which he believes is too little considering Nigeria's investment in the industry.
We are not where we want to be. So today, my charge to NUPRC is that, look, your project 1 million barrels in the next 1 to 2 years is unacceptable. Nigeria cannot wait for another 2 years for us to add another 1 million barrels. That is too long. What do we do now that will take us back to where we were during COVID?
President Bola Tinubu, who was represented at the event, calls for concerted efforts in the oil and gas industry to boost production and achieve the incremental timeline in 2 years.
This project confirms the importance of collective action. I am glad that today's launch is not a talk shop, but will feature actionable commitments from all producers, service providers, and financiers. These commitments will be critical in ensuring that we achieve our incremental targets within the next 12 months.
The NUPRC was established by the Petroleum Industry Act in 2021, replacing the defunct Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, for enhanced regulations and the kind of productivity required to propel Nigeria's energy sufficiency and economic prosperity. Omo Bazwaye, Arise News.
Number of things there. First, of course, congratulations to NUPRC at 3. And then, of course, the conversation around 1 million barrels per day in 1 or 2 years. Some people are saying it's achievable. The Minister of Petroleum Oil, State for Petroleum Oil, has said it's not even enough. We should be talking about more. Your take on this story, right?
That minister really scares me sometimes, the way he talks. A couple of things. It should be achievable in the real sense, but it's not achievable now because there are many problems of Ghana. I'm going to enunciate those problems in about the 2 minutes I'm given to speak this morning. Number one, you have a lot of challenges. Number one, there's been underinvestment in the sector for a while. You know why? A lot of bureaucratic bottlenecks. We can't get our acts together. You can see a lot of deals have been stalled in this sector because of the bureaucratic bottleneck that has happened. Secondly, the wells are very moribund. Most of the wells are moribund. You don't have a lot of capital injection in them. And most of the oil majors are going to deeper waters. So you can hardly get the viable investment you need. Thirdly, NNPC too shares in the blame. Their cash calls. I think it was only on the 1st of October or thereabout that they announced that they had just paid about $2.4 billion in their cash calls. Their cash call is for the wells they own with other oil majors, the part of it they need to pay to service the well. When you don't pay those cash calls, you can't expect to get full production. We've not solved the problem of crude oil theft, which is there, which is a niggling challenge, and we've not been able to crack the ecosystem of crude oil theft. Number 5, we have not done a lot as regards, developing what I call, the local content input. Yes, the local content board has done some good work as regards ensuring that some things are localized, but we can also do more in that ecosystem. So when you look at all these myriads of challenges, you cannot achieve production of 1 million, add-on of 1 million barrels extra to be able to make over 2 million barrels. You have not done it over time. And all of these things I'm not telling you will roll into billions and billions of naira. And because of the way our ecosystem is structured, to get finances is another very difficult problem. Nobody wants to touch this oil sector with a long pole because they just look at the level of seriousness that is going on there. I am happy with this. Some people have shown commitment, which is very good. So the Lumelu that was complaining before about how crude oil theft was killing his business and all of that, he's talked about an uptick in his business, which is also very good. There's some good signs, but let's not kid ourselves. The minister was saying this before the end of the year. We're already 2 months away. You can't get that number. Probably let's start targeting next year. And at least even work at meeting OPEC quota first before we start being overly ambitious.
All right, so overly ambitious or not, Dr. Batin?
Okay, this was at the occasion of the 3rd anniversary of the NUPRC, the Nigerian Upstream and Midstream Regulatory Agency, which is headed by Gbenga Komolafe. And yesterday, all the stakeholders were invited, statements were made, promises were made. But the theme of the event was about vision, resilience, and all of that. And how Nigeria can achieve 1 million barrels per day additional going forward. Now, Senator Anikin Lokobiri, the Minister of Petroleum, Oil and Gas, says that in fact Nigeria can do better. Well, I think he's right in that regard. And it is as follows. To the extent that, look, we have stranded assets, upstream, downstream, wherever, that Nigeria has not been able to free. To create, as the representative of the president pointed out, job opportunities and all of that, investment opportunities within this space, that has not happened. So the Tinubu administration is saying, through the Minister of Petroleum Oil, that this is achievable, but it can even be better. And I think it's right. They can do up to 1.5 million, barrels per day. Assets stranded, in Nigeria's energy space that could be freed. I think Gbenga Komolafe was being modest by saying, we will do 1 million barrels per day. Now, to put it in context, the OPEC regulation, the OPEC agreement deal says Nigeria has 1.5. We are not even meeting that quota. Whatever we meet at that level is for export. Now, in Nigeria itself, we have not been able to meet the space for domestic demand, despite the emergence of the Dangote refinery, which says it will provide, and which we say, has the capacity to provide 650,000, barrels per day. So you see that Nigeria already is not meeting its obligations. So you ask yourself the question, where is NNPC, filling the gap? The reality, as I suspect, is that what NNPC is selling overseas, that is even what it is buying back to make available to domestic refineries just to fill the gap. So Nigeria needs to move a bit forward, to be able to provide for its people at home and to also provide in terms of its meeting its production quota. The second point was, I think, the point made by the group managing director of NNPC Limited about how we have weak infrastructure. The infrastructures are weak. Some of these facilities are over 50 years old. They cannot meet the objective. What are they doing about the infrastructure? Otherwise, all this talk about 1 million barrels per day is just hogwash. They will not be able to meet it. No matter how we think, let us support Benga Komolafe's agency. There are fundamental issues that have to be addressed. Thirdly, there are issues between the key players in this space and also with NNPC, with other partners that have not been resolved. Now the Nigerian government, the representative of President Tinubu, Senator Akume, said, issues with Seplat have been resolved, issues with Total have been addressed, but to what effect? What is the outcome of these claims that they make? But the good part of it is that they say that the Nigerian government is working on diversification, is trying to create job opportunities, but to address these issues, they must do so with sincerity of purpose. It's not enough to organize an event, bring all the stakeholders together, and you just make statements. No, the intelligent thing is to look at the fundamental issues about regulation, about capacity, about unresolved issues, and about assets that have not been put on stream. But otherwise, in terms of the optics, yeah, they had a good ceremony. Everybody made the right statements. But I think Nigerians should look deeper into the issue.
All right, a few things. First of all, I don't think it's over ambitious to look at ramping up beyond 1 million barrels per day. I think what the challenge is that if they're able to, some of the challenges that were highlighted, if they're able to deal with them, then it's very possible for us to maximize opportunities in the oil and gas sector in Nigeria. I'll center on what the chairman of the ERS Holdings, Mr. Tony Elumeli, said. He himself running an oil field and talking about some of the advancements or some of the things that they did in order to ramp up production by almost double. A number of things have been said. And so rather than just focus on the challenges, how then can we mitigate some of these challenges? We've identified them already. Number one is if only we can handle or contain crude oil theft and enhance security, already the gains on that one would be incredible in terms of achieving this 1 million barrels per day. We talked about how this has been a bane in our oil and gas sector for many years, and a lot of money, a lot of budget has gone into securing our pipelines without a lot of gains made in that way. So that's one thing. Enhancing our security. Number two is adoption of technology. Even in securing our pipelines and ensuring that and enhancing security, we can leverage technology to achieve that, and also leverage technology in exploration. Beyond that as well, we talked about regulatory, shall I say, haphazardness. We can also work on that, streamline regulation, make it more attractive for investors to come in. Last week at the NESG Summit, there was a lot of talk around how Nigeria is an investment destination. However, some of the policy back and forth has made it very difficult for investors to come in and put in their money. And so even in the petroleum sector, that's part of the challenges that we have seen. So if they're really serious about ramping this up, there are really emergent quick wins that they can do. So it's not just about announcing this, it's also the body language, the action, the implementation that will demonstrate just how serious they are about ramping up production to, like the Minister of State for Oil, for Petroleum Oil said, more than 1 million barrels per day. So Nigerians are watching. We hope that this will not be like the NNPCL's promise to revamp the refineries, where the deadline has been pushed, but that we're going to hold them to account in the next 1 year or 2 years. Hopefully, we will see the realization of the ramping up of our production of oil by 1 million barrels per day. It's possible if only they can fix these challenges that have already been identified.